Thank you everyone for joining me. My name is Kevin Anyango, and this is Mtandao Varsity School of Soft Skills. The platform is mostly about talking about soft skills or those behaviors that employers are looking for. And these are like leadership skills, critical thinking, writing skills. But today, we're going to talk about HIV and AIDS, and this is in commemoration of World AIDS Day, which is tomorrow. And one of the theme for this year is concerning shared responsibility. And with me, I'm with the two amazing people, Bernard Mwololo and Doreen Moracha. Yo, welcome to the show. Bernard, hey.
Hey, Kevin, how are you?
Safi, Doreen, welcome to the show, girl.
Thank you so much.
And I've got to say, Doreen, and I know I say this all the time, that I've written to you several times, but I've never gotten a reply. But today, here you are, thanks to Bernard. You're a busy lady, but I truly understand.
Yeah, I am a very busy person. I am so sorry about that, but I am a very busy person. Sometimes,
I understand.
Yeah.
You are busy, but you are...
Sorry?
You are busy, but you are wonderful.
Thank you so much, Bernard.
Bernard, this is my show. I say the compliments, not you. But never mind. Well, listen, I think we should crack on. I can see people joining us. And again, I'll just go straight to the point. And Bernard, so you live with HIV and AIDS, isn't it?
Yes.
Yeah.
And you're very and Bernard, you're very happy to talk about this all the time. And this year, people are talking about shared responsibility. And okay, Bernard, I'll go to you. What does that mean to you, Bernard? As somebody who somebody who lives with HIV and AIDS, what does it mean when they talk about shared responsibility?
I think what they mean is like, if you are positive, you need not to infect others. And those who are negative, they need to take care of themselves. I think that in short is what I understand by it. Like, we take care of each other.
But do you feel the weight of it, or are you? Bernard, listen, I know you very well. Usually, you don't mean your words. So when they say shared responsibility, do you feel the weight of it as a person who lives with the virus, or do you think the weight goes to people that are negative?
I think you're getting me. Yes. So I think it's about, for me, in person, living with HIV is not easy, but with support, it becomes easy, with support of people and family members and all that, and friends. But also those people who are negative, they need also to take care of us by reminding us, and not also them getting infected. So that's why I'm saying it's a shared responsibility. Hey, Kevin.
Just as a young person, as a woman, and when people talk about HIV and AIDS, or they didn't protect themselves. What does shared responsibility means to you, Doreen?
To me, it means that it's not only the responsibility of the people living with HIV, it's also the responsibility of the community at large, whereby I am living with HIV, yes, but the people around me love and support me unconditionally. They're looking at the human and not the virus. And even people who are not living with HIV like me have accepted them. Have accepted me as I am. And them, when they are going through their daily life activities, they are also protecting themselves from getting infected for HIV. So they are taking the responsibility of protection for themselves, and they're also taking the responsibility of looking at me as a person, and not just a person living with HIV.
So I know you well. I know your profile, I know who you are. But just for the sake of my viewers and people listening to us today, you're very happy to talk about your status, isn't it?
Yeah.
And the status is.
I was born with HIV 28 years ago. I have lived with HIV my whole life. My parents are a HIV discordant couple, and I am the only one among my 3 siblings who is living with HIV currently.
And why? Again, I say, people will go out. People can find, all about you. But why talk about it passionately? You should talk about your status very well. Passionately, you talk about the virus. So what's the motivation?
The motivation is the stigma and the lack of, I don't know whether it's lack of information or it's just people who choose not to get informed about their HIV status. So most of the time you find that a person is living with HIV, yes, but they are also in denial. They have stigmatized themselves. They look down on themselves. They don't feel like they're fit enough to be accepted by society. A lot of people have died with the mentality of what will people say, because they are afraid. People will know I'm living with HIV, and then they will think I am promiscuous. They will think I've been sleeping around, and that alone kills more people than HIV itself. So it is that stigma that actually drives me, that gives me the passion that, we need to normalize the HIV conversation. We need to make HIV a normal health condition without looking at the social aspect of HIV. Because until we stop looking at HIV as a sexually transmitted disease, then we can never move past the stigma.
Well, you talk about the social aspect of it, and Bernard, I will come to you again. And I know when I say talking about today's topic or today's show or podcast, I put out as what exactly does what do we need to have so that we can talk about HIV freely, and also we can control it. Bernard, what kind of skills do we need? Again, when I'm talking about skills, I'm talking about soft skills now, or those social aspects that we may need as young people to curb and live the HIV positively.
For me, I think what is important is for us to normalize HIV and not to take it as a pandemic, because right now everybody, at least we have little information about HIV. So for me, what I can say is if we can normalize it and at least talk about stigma, because the thing is, in reality, there is stigma about HIV. So many people, we are, like an example of me, I am in so many groups with 20,000 people. You will hear them say how they are afraid even to tell their parents that they are HIV positive, you know? So that's how it is. So we need to normalize it and just take it as normal. Yeah.
I'm sorry, guys. Again, I think I kind of struggling to hear both Doreen and Bernard.
Sorry?
You can't hear us, Kevin.
So this is like sometimes these things do happen. I'm not sure whether it's my side or either side.
Kevin?
I'm really sorry about this. Again, these things do happen. It's a live show. I'm going to try again, reach out to Bernard.
No.
And Bernard, can you hear me okay?
Yes, I'm hearing you. Can you hear
Thank
me?
you. Doreen, can you hear me okay?
I can hear
yes.
you very clearly.
We are hearing you, Kevin.
It's actually you who can't hear us, but for us, we can hear you very
Yes, I can now. Marvelous.
Okay.
Well, thank you. Yes, I can hear you very well. Yes, thank you. Again, it's a live show. This is to happen. Bernard, so you talked about normalizing HIV. What exactly does that mean, please?
Okay, I meant like making sure that everybody is educated about HIV. In fact, if we can introduce HIV as a compulsory curriculum to schools from primary to secondary, it can be very good, so that even the young people as they grow up, they are able to learn what is this thing about HIV. Why do I need to take my care of myself? Why do I need to take care of another person? Yeah.
And Doreen, isn't so? Let's look at. So Bernard talked about how to normalize it, and he mentions about making it compulsory in education. Is that not the case now? Like people still talk about it in school, academic terms, but the social aspect of it is still being seen as a bad thing, isn't it?
I actually don't think yes, there is a little bit about a problem in the curriculum, but it's currently changing. Right now, we have new books that are coming up, and they have better languaging than what we used to have. The old textbooks used to have this, on the HIV topic, there was this, what is it called? There was this coffin, like it's HIV, and then a coffin is drawn on the side and all that. So nowadays, I think things have changed a little bit. It's not the way it used to be, but we still have a long way to go, because yes, at school, these kids can learn a little bit about HIV, 1 or 2, 3 things. But what happens at home where people call HIV voodoo, like the languaging at home once they leave school, it's not the same, you see? And so they grow up thinking that HIV is still a death sentence. Adults still think that HIV is a death sentence right now in 2020. And it's so overwhelming that HIV, after 36 years, we're still looking at it as a death sentence. It's not. We have come from a point where HIV never had medication to a point where now we have ARVs that are boosting people's health. And now we are going to, what is it called? We're now getting into better prevention methods, but still the information out there, people are still choose to take the information that they hear from the villages and rumors. It's the same way when COVID came, there was too much misinformation. You see, people were saying that it came from China and the Chinese were eating some weird animals and that is how we got it. So you see those misconceptions are what people believe in so much, to a point that they don't want to look at the facts. Right now, when I tell somebody I'm undetectable and so I cannot transmit HIV to another person, they're like, how can that happen? How does that even happen? Because they don't see that. They know HIV is highly transmittable and that is it. So the thing is, people need to start getting a little bit of information about HIV, learn about HIV, talk about HIV, normalize the conversation, so that when somebody says, hey, I'm living with HIV, the next question doesn't come that, oh, you don't even look like you have HIV. That will not even be a question, because there is no look to people who are living with HIV.
Well, you brought the idea of COVID and having children, and I'll come back to that too. Bernard, you've got a beautiful daughter, Grace, who I've met, I've met. Perhaps just to be very clear, what Doreen have just said, that people living with HIV and AIDS nowadays, again, it's not a death sentence, and people can live a normal life. And you here, young man with a lovely daughter, please talk about that, so that my listeners can actually know that this thing is real. It's not just about reading on the paper, but actually there are people living with HIV and AIDS, and they've got children as well.
Yeah, it's very true, and people just want to be ignorant because they don't want to learn. But for me, I am married and I have a daughter, and my daughter is negative because the mother was and myself we were able to follow the doctor's advices for the 2 years, and our child turned negative. So the myth that people have in the society about HIV, it's not there that if you get a child who, because you are positive, that child will turn positive. It's not the case. And if you want to know, one day I did a post in my Facebook and I said about uh, a child becoming negative, and somebody was like, how? You know, because there is no information outside here about it. So we can live a normal life. Even the couples who are, maybe the man is positive and the lady is negative, and they get a negative baby. Yeah.
Bernard, sorry, I'm going to use it as an example here. So when you
Yes.
talk about doctors' advice, so you mean science, and that's why science is very important when it comes to fighting a pandemic. So when you say doctor's advice, so you're married, you guys decided you want to have child, you have got children, so you went to a doctor and you talked to the doctor about this, and they advised you accordingly. This information was free. Did you pay for it?
It was free. It's very free to all the government CCCs, the ones who deal with HIV, and all the NGOs that deal with. Like if you go to a facility, they are called comprehensive care something. Those they offer free advice, free testing. Testing is free, so there's nothing you pay.
Right. So
You don't pay anything.
government provides this freely. Um, well, I'll come to Doreen, if I may, if you can hear me.
Yeah, I can hear you.
Right. So again, you talked about COVID, and I again when COVID came into picture, there was a lot of misinformation about it. What is the role of community and science when it comes to pandemic? Because I talk about shared responsibility, and you're very passionate again when we talk about these things. But let's be specific here and be very, very practical. What is the role, first of all, of community when it comes to a pandemic?
The role of the community is to ensure that the people are engaged, the people are educated about matters of HIV and whatever pandemic they're going through. The community is basically they're like the link that gives people, we are telling you COVID-19 is real, it's here with us. HIV is real, it's here with us. Because a lot of people in every pandemic, they say, no, that is not for us. Like people tend to go straight into denial before now accepting that, oh, wow, this is real. This is here with us. This is actually killing people amongst us. So the community has a huge responsibility to play. And that responsibility actually is for the community to educate its people, for the community to ensure that the people are informed, for the community to ensure that its people are well connected. And like what we saw during these COVID times, people living with HIV, some of them missed food, some of them were thrown out of their houses, some of them had missed medication. The community left a gap there because it was the role of the community to push the government and tell them people living with HIV have an issue. These people are sleeping hungry. These people need food in their stomachs because you can't take ARVs on an empty stomach. You cannot. It's just not possible. It does not work like that. So the community kind of left a gap there. Yes, at some point they came through, but before that, they really took a lot of time. So the community is actually the number one link between the common mwananchi and the government and the NGOs and the funders and the donors to talk a language, to speak the same language and say, hey, our people are suffering. Hey, people down here, things are not as good as you think they are. Because they know the realities. They just choose to ignore sometimes.
Well, like you've talked about donors, and myself professionally, I work international development, and I work for a foundation actually. And when COVID happened, everything kind of stopped, and people started talking about COVID-19. For those that have joined us, my name is Kevin Anyango. This is Mtandao Varsity School of Soft Skills, and we're talking about HIV and AIDS in relations to COVID, and what's our role or what's our shared responsibility. Look, listen. I know we need to move on. We've got a few minutes, but I'll come back to you again, Doreen. So, you talked about when COVID happened. People kind of forgot about people living with HIV and AIDS, and I don't remember really anywhere. And again, I'm going to use Kenya as an example, where there was a government statement or somebody talked about what they were going to do specifically to people living with HIV and AIDS. Does that mean that people actually forgot about it?
For some reason, sometimes I feel like we have forgotten that HIV is here with us. Yes, we have learned to live with it, but the new infections are still coming up. We have seen right now we have a crisis of teenage pregnancies since young girls closed schools. So when you try to turn those statistics into HIV, from the pregnancy to HIV, because unprotected sex is involved, then you look at it and you're like, we have left the HIV conversation hanging. I don't know whether we don't care anymore, or we forgot about it, or we think because people living with HIV have access to ARVs, they're okay, they're just doing okay, and so we don't need to talk about HIV anymore. Because we are supposed to end new HIV infections by 2020. We have not even reached the right threshold for the 90-90-90 goal for UNAIDS. So how are we going to end it by 2030 if in 2020 we can't even talk about HIV, if now we are dealing with two pandemics, one which we want to assume does not exist, and another one which we don't even know how to handle it. So I think it is time to bring the conversation into place and look at it from a point where these are people living with HIV. They're here with us. We have given them medication. We have given them prevention methods. We have given them, we are trying to come up with elimination of mother-to-child programs. But why are the infection rates still going up? Why do we have new infections? Because Kenya right now has 1.6 million people living with HIV. And sometimes when you look at the countries in Eastern and Southern Africa, they have a very high prevalence rate of people living with HIV as compared to our West African countries. Why? In fact, somebody questioned me on that and told me, is it that you guys just don't know how to handle these pandemics? Is it that you guys just don't care about your lives? Or what is happening? Because a country like Ghana has 150,000 people living with HIV, the whole country. And Kenya has one, the 150,000 is our prevalence rate per year, our new infection rate per year, which is, it's really disturbing, by the way. It is a very disturbing thing, because now you sit down and you ask yourself, where are we going wrong? Because the age between 14 to 24-year-olds are getting infected a lot. Like every second, there is a young woman and a young man who are being infected with HIV. Why? That is the million-dollar question we need to ask. Because the prevention measures a lot. In fact, if they don't want to use condoms, there is PrEP. If they have already been exposed, there is PrEP. All of these are accessible. In fact, they are free in most of the government hospitals, but still the infection rate is not going down. So which means there is a gap that needs to be addressed. And that gap is having the HIV conversation, normalizing it, okay? Not putting fear. Putting fear in people gives them it gives them a way to adapt to whatever you are trying to make them fear. For example, when COVID came to Kenya, first people were forced to wear masks, and they were told, if you are found without a mask, you will be arrested and charged with a fine of around 20,000 Kenya shillings. And people now are wearing masks, not because they want to protect themselves, but because they don't want to get arrested. You see, so that, and now they have even come up with ways of, I'll just wear my mask here on my chin. As long as the policeman sees I have a mask, they won't ask me. So don't use fear to fight a pandemic. It does not work. People come up with coping mechanisms and they just continue living their lives. the way they want. So give them information. Tell them, hey guys, COVID-19 is here with us. COVID-19 is so real. HIV is here with us. It has lived with us for 36 years. But we need to reduce these conversations. We need to reduce the new infections. So how do we do that? First of all, pregnant women ensure you get tested. Go to hospital. Normalize HIV testing. The testing kits are available in your local pharmacy. How do you, if in case you need a little bit of counseling, here is a toll-free number. Talk to the counselor before you get tested. If you feel that you're not ready, wait until you're ready. You see, until you give people a way of doing the thing, fear will never work. Because you know, in the early 2000s, we had all these billboards saying "Ukimwi unaua." People were trying to be warned, to have the fear that HIV kills. So if HIV kills, I'll make sure that I don't have it. So that fear is what most people have till now. And what have they done? They have devised ways of adopting with HIV. They look at someone, they assume this person is not living with HIV, so I'm going to sleep with them without protection. So that is now what we should get rid of, because that mentality of fear, because fear does not solve any pandemic in the world. It doesn't. And the other day we saw a small country, Swatini. It has already reached the UNAIDS target, the 95. And Eswatini is very small, and its prevalence rate is almost 3/4 of their population living with HIV. So what is Eswatini doing right that we are doing wrong?
And I like that. And just again, for those who just join us, people that don't know what Swatini is, that is from Swaziland. We're changing the name now. Now, and I like the ways you mentioned about some of the stats, and Bernard, I'll come to you. But so Doreen mentioned about a country like Ghana, and again for those people that listen to us, one of the countries that are affected hugely is Southern Africa, and people are talking about sugar daddy issue, and in Kenya here we talked about sponsors, or people call sponsors in local language. But so apart from the social aspect, Bernard, we've got to talk about the mental health parts of it, and again. This again, for the sake of shared responsibility. You as a person, you've got a family that you've got to feed. You live with HIV and AIDS. There are stigma around it. How do you make sure that your mental health aspect, is okay, you're stable, and you can talk about these things freely?
I think the first thing was accepting myself and accepting I'm in this condition. And number two is to make sure the people around me, if I accept myself, the people around me will accept me. That's the message. So for the people living with HIV, we need to accept ourselves. And when we accept ourselves, when we are able to love ourselves, then other people will love us. That's what I always say. Like, if I hate myself because I'm HIV positive, so the people around me will start even stigmatizing me. You need to show people why you are important in this world at first place, even if you are HIV positive. So that's the thing. Like me, I come out and talk about it. I once in my marriage felt that thing about being positive, where you find our families, they had an issue for us coming out and sharing our status. But we needed to move on. We needed to say that no, we cannot go down. This is what we want, this is our passion, we want to talk about it, we want to help other people. And that one has made us be stable and be able even to share health-wise. But I know so many people who are living with HIV who have mental problems. They have, if you do something small to them that is maybe disturbing, they feel down, they go down, very, very down. So if, in fact, the HIV and mental health, they are related somehow, because if somebody has not accepted himself or herself, that is a big problem. And number two, if your family, your friends, they have not accepted it, you don't know when you share to them, how will they react? That's a big problem, that we are trying, maybe for us, like me, Doreen, and others who will talk about our status, we are trying to cover that up. You know, people, the other day I said, like, unajua Kiswahili, if you allow me, in Kiswahili they say ukimwi, but in English they say HIV and AIDS. So there are people who think HIV is AIDS, and that is wrong, because when you take your medicine very well, they just HIV positive. But you know, AIDS is when you are in the hospital. I think we need to create a good name and it differentiate between the ukimwi and you know, something like that. But what I can say is we need a lot of love, we need a lot of care, so that we are able to accept ourselves. And I encourage the NGOs and the government institutions that give us help, they give us drugs. The health workers, they need to continue encouraging us and even educating the community around them. Yeah, that can do marvelous. And yes,
Please
what
carry on.
Doreen, yeah, what Doreen is saying about us reaching 95%. Truth be said, our the people living with HIV, especially in Kenya, they are not stable. They are not self-sustainable, and that is a big problem. People don't have meals to eat. People don't don't even know where the children will go to school because there are no employment. The people are suffering. So when they come, like now, they are saying that the programs need to be self-sustainable. How? How are they? We cannot leave just this work to only the government of Kenya only. We need the USAID, the UNICEF to continue funding the African countries until they make sure we have reached that 95%. Yes.
Wow, I mean, this discussion we can carry on and on about it, and there's some things that I personally took for granted, you know, and it's good to hear from you guys rather than just reading from them. Just as we finish this, and I come to Doreen again, and I want to talk the element of you know, opportunities, you know, job opportunities, the element of how to sustain lives, you know. And you know, you mentioned about Swatini, and I want to talk about mostly in Southern Africa, for example, again, where I myself I've lived in, I've worked in, and where people prey on girls mostly. You know, people know where to go to. People know how to take advantage of those who are vulnerable. You are a young girl, you have. I'm sure many people that listen to me or look at you, you're an extremely beautiful girl. What is the responsibility of an individual to make sure that nobody takes advantage of me despite my situation? How easy is that to say that you cannot take advantage of me?
Now, you see, the thing is, when we talk about our HIV status openly, people think we are paid for that, we are sent like airtime for that. And there is nothing like that. Nobody pays you to speak about your HIV status. Some people ask me, how can I become a HIV positive advocate? I tell them, just start where you are, you know?
I like, just there, Doreen, since you said that, just to disclaimer, I've not paid you guys to come on this show, isn't it?
Yeah, okay, yeah, please disclaim that.
And that's the challenge, and I feel bad now. I feel bad about it, and it's important for us to know that this knowledge is not free, and people like you need to be supported. Please carry on, Doreen.
And that is why when we come up, like for example, I've come up with my YouTube channel, and I just tell people, just subscribe. That is all I ask for. Subscribe and watch my videos, because that is probably one day YouTube is going to be able to pay me enough money so that now I can be able to, to do more, to even maybe get a production team instead of shooting on my phone. But people just see, you're doing your work. And sometimes people send you messages and they expect you to respond in real time because they think that is what you do. Some people even say, you're paid to do this, you should just already be available to just do it. And I tell them, no, that is not the case at this particular moment, because I am not paid to do this. I do this on my spare time. I have a job that requires my full attention, 8 hours a day. So I only do this because I want you guys to understand that we are living with HIV, but we are only doing this to help you out. Yes, I do. I'm affiliated to a few organizations here and there, but those are only on volunteer volunteer, even on the terms of reference, they say, remember this role is on a volunteer basis. So until they decide, hey, we're now traveling, we're taking you to a meeting, this and that place, of which this year that has not happened at all. You're just there. And the sad part is these people, some of them call you and expect you to be there at the beck and call just because they think that you are always available. And especially with Zoom, they actually feel like you need to always be there. You need to always be available.
Wow. Well, Bernard, so Doreen mentioned about having YouTube and people supporting you. Wow. So do you think that community is failing you, or is it you guys are being lenient and being very, what's the word? You're being shy to ask, no, before I come to your show, you've got to pay me first.
I'm just laughing because I've even found myself, my friends asking me like, the first time we met with Doreen, we met in NTV. And let me tell you, when I got out of NTV, everybody was calling me, those who know me, and they were like, how much have you been paid? And there was nothing I was paid. In fact, at a fair niliomba. I borrowed fare to go to that city. You can ask my wife, I was to negotiate 200 to go to the show. So we do this out of passion, and we know how many people are suffering, Like for me, I work with an NGO that supports people with HIV, especially children. And I can see how much disclosure and all that is. But when as we talk out, somebody else somewhere heals, and we want to help people who look like us. We are not paid for anything. I have never gone to any show and paid because I'm sharing my status, unless somebody tells you, she can me out to me affair. That's how it is. But for real, it's but I can say now I don't know, as we do it for passion, but somebody to subscribe to our channel is just free. It's free. You just hit there. YouTube will pay us. That's why we do what. Yeah.
Well, listen. As I said, this is a topic that I personally am very, very passionate about. I started my career through working with HIV/AIDS, and hence where I met Bernard. This year's theme on HIV/AIDS, as we commemorate HIV/AIDS Day, is about shared responsibility. And what I'm getting from this discussion, Bernard and Doreen, is that we should not take this for granted, and we should not assume that when people talk about HIV/AIDS, they're being paid. When people go to these shows, that they're being paid. We've got to support them as a community. We've got to support people who are talking about social aspects. Whether it's HIV/AIDS, whether it's COVID-19, whatever pandemic it is, we've got to support people that are speaking about these things. My name is Kevin Nyango. This is Mtandao Varsity School of Soft Skills. And again, the platform is mostly about talking about what employers want. And today we're talking about HIV/AIDS. Doreen, as you are finishing this, it's very important for us to understand the aspect of we individually, we've got to take responsibility of ourselves. How important is that? How important is that? And what message are you giving us? Sorry, you're muted.
Oh, sorry. I had not noticed that. Your health is your responsibility. Before the government comes in, before the community comes in, before NGOs and whatever it is comes in, your health starts with you as your responsibility. Are you protecting yourself? Because most of these things that we are dealing with are things that we can actually protect ourselves from. But we just choose to live a life of you only live once. I know you only live once, but sometimes you don't really have to throw everything away just because you only live once. You can live once and have a very memorable life. But always choose that your health is your responsibility. Always remember that before anybody else. I see people coming to me and complaining that, Doreen, I had unprotected sex with somebody and they did not disclose the status to me. And I tell them, before you had unprotected sex with them, did you know their HIV status? No. Had you ever tested for HIV? No. So you see, they're not taking responsibility for themselves, but they want to blame the other person because it's easier that way. But before you, I always tell people, take responsibility, take charge, because you are always in control. You are always, there is always a way to prevent yourself. So prevent yourself at all costs, no matter what. As long as you don't know the other person's HIV status, prevent yourself. If it's for COVID-19, personally, when I get into a matatu and I find the conductors are saying, hey, the seat, I want you guys to sit, two of you on the same seat. I literally just alight. Why? Because this is my responsibility. If I get COVID-19 right now, I am sure I am not even able to afford taking myself to hospital. So why don't I just prevent myself instead of waiting until I get it and then I start saying there are no services, there are no accessible hospitals, I can't even afford it. Instead, let me start by protecting myself. Wear your mask correctly because you are going to get protected. Wear your sanitize or wash your hands. You know, I know Kenyans have started to feel like it's work, but it might be work, but that small act is what is going to help you. Practice social distancing. Stop this celebration. So we're going for I don't know whose birthday. We shall celebrate when all this is over, when we can actually handle this, when you know what we are dealing with. For now, your relative, your friend who does not look like they have it, they probably have it and they're asymptomatic and you cannot see it. The same way, you can test somebody with your eyes because you feel, do they have HIV? They don't. My eyes say no. So that does not work. That is not a test. That is just you analyzing somebody because of how they look physically, and that is not a HIV test. So normalize testing, normalize using a condom, normalize knowing your status and that of your partner. And if above all, even after I have said all of that, we need to end HIV and AIDS stigma. Because when we end HIV and AIDS stigma, testing is going to be easy, access to condoms is going to be easy, access to PrEP and PEP medication is going to be easy, access to ARVs and taking them is going to be easy. But the sad part is there is no cure for stigma. There is no vaccine being produced somewhere for stigma. So it is us who actually have the cure. It is us who have the vaccine. It is us to choose and look at the human and not the virus.
Wow, Doreen, thank you so much for those words. And Bernard, I'll come to you to take us home. But as Bernard, you talked about getting support, and people should always support your work. Look, just sharing what you guys do on social media is free, as you said. You know, subscribe to YouTube is free, as you said. These contents, you spend time to look for them and to share them out there.
Yeah.
For those who are listening to us today, share the content, subscribe to the channels, support them if you can. This is Tandao Varsity School of Soft Skills. And Bernard, take us home.
So for me, I'll say it's true. We need to fight stigma, as Doreen has said. We really need to fight stigma, and we need to make sure we learn something about HIV. It's free. The information is outside here and it's free. It's only that people ignore it. And for us, we are living a normal life. Doreen is 28. I'm 33 years. I've lived with HIV all my life. I have a family. So what else? You know me, you can never tell me HIV kills unless I've seen it killing me. Yeah, you know? And it's having people who support you, people who are around you, are they encouraging you? That's the most important thing. That's what I can say, Kevo. And I can just say, like, we need love, and we also give love outside there. We need love from the community, from the society, from the political class, from everybody, you know, to be able to fight this and make sure we reach the 95%. Yeah.
Oh, I cannot thank you enough, guys. Bernard, thank you so much for being on the show. Doreen, you are amazing, unbelievable. And I cannot tell you how honored I am to talk to you and meet you. Hopefully, we shall shake hands in the coming future. For those that have been with us my name is Kevin Anyango. This is Mtandao Varsity School of Soft Skills. Thank you so much for supporting us always. Thank you for supporting Doreen and Bernard, and keep watching to their content. Do share their content. Stay safe, everyone. It is your responsibility to be safe. Thank you and God bless.